Hi, I'm David Lee Pancake. I'm a sculptor that usually works with clays and resins, but today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be working with EVA foam and PVC pipe to create a special prop. That prop is the one from season 8 of episode 1 of Game of Thrones. It is Arya's weapon that she commissions Gendry, the blacksmith, a bastard, to make for her. Now, when she hands him the weapon drawing, it looks like that the weapon is a two-part staff weapon that comes apart with obsidian glass, Dragonglass points on each end. So we're going to do that, but we're going to enhance it a little bit. We're going to put a special vial of poison in one end that's going to glow with a nice little LED lights, and we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, you'll have to forgive me, this is only my second attempt at EVA foam, so we're going to learn a little bit of something together. Come along, let's get to making. Okay, the first thing was to cut a slot inside the PVC pipe. This was an experiment that went wrong. I tried to use it on the bandsaw and just cut out a slot out of the side of the PVC pipe, but that did not work. So I abandoned that, and what I did was, and this is a much more nice looking slot, I've spray painted it black, but what I did is I ended up using the grinder, and I put the grinder in and just cut along a line that I had outlined, and then the same thing on the top and on both sides, so that it ended up looking like this. Now, I had ordered a piece of clear acrylic pipe, thinking that I was going to use some type of liquid, like maybe paraffin oil and water. I did one like that, but it was created all kinds of difficulties trying to get the lights in so that they would not be bumpy up on top with the EVA foam covering it, or drill through. It just created a whole bunch of problems. So what I did was I created a mold out of this piece, and I cast in resin this glass piece, and I put a little LED strip of lights with this little battery powered on-off switch here, and that's what it looks like when it's lit. And then I'm going to slide that inside the tube, and that's what it's going to end up inside the tube to look like. Now this is going to hide away inside here, and then EVA foam will cover this, and then the spear point will go on the end. And the idea is that this is some kind of magical poison that gets injected when you do the stabby motion to the big giant ice dragon. That's the idea. So we're going to proceed from there and do the next step. Okay, because I need this to be a lot thicker than just the normal floor mat, I'm going to have to glue several of these together so that I can match the thickness of my PVC pipe. So that would mean, I think, 3 of these together, and another one on top of that. But as you see, the floor mat has this pattern on one side of it. So what I have to do in order to get it together and to glue it solidly is I'm going to have to sand this all off. And that's what we're going to do next. Okay, I've gotten most of it knocked down. I mean, it's fairly smooth. There's maybe a little bit of rough spots in there, but I think that's going to be okay. And now what we're going to do next is put the barge cement to it. And with barge, you just lather it on. Okay, so now I have it covered, but I'm waiting for it to dry just a little bit. I see a little spot on the corner here that I didn't get. So both sides are covered, and we're waiting for 5 minutes or thereabouts for it to get dry. Okay, so now I'm going to put these two pieces together, hopefully. Okay, now that we've got our pieces glued together, and yes, I know I need another one of these. Now we're going to be cutting it out, and here we go. So I have cut out the blades on each end, and I've marked where I'm going to preserve the flatness of this, and then I marked the center of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bandsaw, and I'm going to cut off what I don't need before I start with my sanding with the Dremel tool. So what I basically want to do is I want to just cut off a tapered edge here. Hopefully we'll get through this. Now we're going to take the Dremel tool and add a bit of character to our obsidian glass, our Dragonglass, by showing that it was been chipped to form a blade. And the way we're going to do that is take our Dremel tool and just come in here and do Okay, so I have this pattern for the spear point, or the part that holds the obsidian glass, dragon glass in place. And I'm going to cut this out. Now you're going to want to do this on a 45-degree angle, and I would say cut on this side of the pin. Okay, so this is how it's going to go together on top of the obsidian dragon glass, and this will come off something like this, and then it'll be the dragon glass will be sandwiched in between. But we want to add a little bit of a decoration to this, and something that looks practical. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure off even spacing on here, and then I'm going to use my leather punch to punch through so it looks like there's rivets. Get my peepers on. Okay, where did my ruler go? Here we go. So I know I want a rivet right there in this dot there, and then I think every 1 inch. Okay, so that's our pattern. So some time ago I sculpted a piece of jewelry, the dire wolf, and I'm going to put him right here like this on the piece. I think maybe a little lower down, because I'm also going to have some dragon claws coming in from here and here. So yeah, probably right there. Just wanted to make sure he was going to fit. So, little woof. Now, if you're ordering the pattern, then this comes with it. Okay, so now that we have our shipped look of a obsidian dragon glass being shipped and made into a blade, now we're going to apply the way to mount the blade to the spear, to the staff, and that's where we're going to glue this on next. I'm just going to use some barge cement, glue both sides, and then the next step after that is to be drilling a hole for our spear, our staff to go into. Okay, I've made myself a little square block of foam, and we are going to bevel the edges off here and here and here. Then we're going to drill a hole through it for the spear staff pipe to go through. We have our spear, it's glued on and it's ready for the next phase. I've made these little spikes. The little spikes are going to go right here like this. And I will glue those on next. This and this. Let's put on a little bit of this tubing here, like this. I'm going to cut a 3/4 inch strip. I think 3/4 is about what I want. Right here. We'll start with this side. Come around and wrap that. Then I'll trim this off after I get it wrapped. Okay, so the idea is to come around like this. So now we want to put around our piece here, we're going to put these wolves, position them like that, and the other one on the other side like that. Draw on here to mark it where it needs to go. Thought about putting 3 wolves, but I think 2 is going to be sufficient. And I'm going to super glue these. What I did was I cast in resin, and while it was still warm, I rubber banded this to my surface, and that way it gave me the curvature that I needed for this. Get my pair of gloves on. dragon claws. I don't even think I'm gonna have to do anything to these. I might file down the two that go here in front just a little bit, because then these others will match a little bit more. That. Glue those on first. Yeah. So I'm going to apply some Mod Podge to this. It's ready to go. I filled in a few holes with epoxy resin, epoxy sculpt, and I believe I'm ready to rock and roll here. So away we go with the painting of the Mod Podge. Okay, so I want to work from black to light. So I'm going to get it Mod Podged. I think it's fairly well dry. I'm going to coat it now with some black primer, and then on to painting. Okay, here we go. We're going to be painting my obsidian Dragonglass spear, or at least half of it today. This is the half with the cutting blade on it. And the very first thing up is to get the Dragonglass painted. And then we will move on to, well, no, I think I changed my mind. We're going to work on the metal first. The Royal Ruby Deco Art Dazzling Metallics Royal Ruby. This is one of my favorites. It's a coppery color, like an old penny. And that's going to make the base paint. And then on top of that, we'll go a bronze. And then on top of that, we'll do some silver highlights. Okay, so now all it's left to do is to take it downstairs and coat it with a sealer. I'm going to use Krylon 1303, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. How do you like it? Thank you very much.